Okay, well, here we are, back at it again. Pocket Change Market Report. This is your midweek edition for April 16, 2025. This is the post-tax day event that we like to see as we kind of put that in the rearview mirror, and we're looking forward to looking for some of these bangers that are out there in circulation, hiding in inventory at coin shows and shops, you name it. Anytime you can pick some of these up, whether just simply doing the hunt or cherry picking some of these errors, varieties, key dates, I mean, they're out there. Even dealers make the mistake of not going through all of their inventory. This is where you could swoop in and really make a huge impact. Now, one of the big focal points right now is 2026. 2026 is going to be a pretty big year. 250th anniversary of our country. They call it the semi-quincentennial event. And it's going to have a lot of impact into the market for the rest of 2025 as we prepare for this big event. This is going to be one of the biggest, I would say, numismatic coin related events to have happened in quite a while, and I'm excited to kind of see where we're going with this and how it will overall affect how we collect, how we sell the coins, what the overall market perception is going to be. There's a lot of different variables here, folks, and that's what kind of like what gets the excitement going, the blood pumping, so to speak. And we'll be able to share it with you each and every single week by videos like this. So something to definitely keep an eye out for as we get closer to the end of the year. And boy, we're 4 months into 2025. It's going at a kind of a breakneck kind of pace here as we head to 2026. So before we get into the best of what we've seen on eBay here in the last day or two, I sell on the platform Whatnot. I just wanted to let you know that this is what I do in addition to eBay to help supplement my business, my brand, my income, you name it. They are the biggest, the strongest live social media auction platform today. They are the innovators, and I'm glad to be a huge part of it. And so can you. In one way or the other, you can join the platform as a shopper, one that's looking to add a piece or two to your collection. You could scan that QR code to get started. And if you scan it and use my coding or the links down below in the description box, I will give you $15 off your first item, and it is automatically applied upon purchase. So you can do that as well, but they're also looking for new sellers to the program as well as they continue to grow and get bigger. And lots of new promotions happening. It's something that you definitely need to be a part of, as this will be a platform that will evolve and grow and get bigger and stronger with each passing month. So we do shows as well every Friday night at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. This week it's kind of a different week because it's a show week, and we actually have a show on Thursday at the same time slot. So no Friday show. We have a Thursday show because of the coin show that's going to be in Northern California. So we have a little bit of a shift in the scheduling for the Whatnot stream. So come check things out. It's going to be awesome. And just having you there, even if you don't buy anything, is equally as good as well. All right, so we are going to jump in to these lots. All of the coins you're seeing here today, 100% original images direct from the seller's listings. We didn't juice or doctor any of the photos to make them necessarily look better. You're going to get the best and the worst type of images. You might even get a little bit of photography lesson as a result, and that's all well and good. You got to be able to know where that bar is set, so that way you can be a good seller on the platform. We're going to start things off here with a 1964 Kennedy half dollar. I'm going to bet that probably a few of you have never seen these before, but that's okay. It's a coin that was struck on what we refer to as a ragged clip, or an end of strip planchet. You can notice that with the relatively rough edge on one side right there. And to kind of make sure that this one is the real deal, it's got what we call the Blakesley effect happening, which is a opposite side flattening of the rim area from where the clip is. Now, this could be a ragged clip, it could be a curved or straight clip. Those are usually one of the indicators, that you want to see. Not all of them have that, but it certainly does help out the cause when you have that flattened edge on the opposite side. This is a pretty big one here, considering that we normally see an error of this magnitude on much lesser coins like Lincoln cents and nickels. This is always going to be something that's going to make one of these larger denomination coins even more greater. Things like half dollars and dollar coins are always welcomed when it comes to mint errors. This particular one ended up selling for $49.50. A pretty big sale compared to, say, a Lincoln cent that normally sells for about $10-15. So pretty neat one here. And this one obviously is not the most perfect example, which lets us know that these things will circulate as well. A lot of non-collectors will see this maybe as damage, and they'll just go and spend it because it doesn't look pretty to them. Pretty neat mid error on a coin that we just don't see that often. Next one that we have here, 1990p. Now this is where things get a little bit interesting. We've been slowly talking about more Roosevelt dimes here lately. Don't know if you guys are aware, but for 2026 for that event, they are redesigning a full redesign of the dime. All right, and then now all of a sudden, because of that news, that buzz, the hype, it's really driven up the desirability for Roosevelt dimes, where Roosevelt dimes have traditionally been very quiet. They haven't been the most loved coin in numismatics. Up until now, people are beginning to pay a little bit more attention to them. They're willing to bid a little bit higher on these. So, it's no surprise or secret that a coin like this did actually do well here in the last day or two, which is a 1990p Roosevelt dime. If you look on the reverse, the coin, first of all, is in a 2x2 flip. And they actually drew with a kind of like a highlighter, a circle to the area in question. And that is indeed 2 cud die breaks right on the reverse there, right over the word United, which is actually really cool looking. So the dies, just through wear and tear, were beginning to show their cracks and crevices. So they were breaking down right before our very eyes, and little pieces of the die will crumble and fall out. And when they go to strike up coins with the broken terminal die, it's going to leave these raised blob anomalies on the coin, which come in a way of like die chips or cuds and things like that. So this one right here ended up selling for $40.50. The cuds look big on these images, but when you have them in hand, they're really easy to miss. They're very small, and since they're on the reverse, people tend to not pay as much attention to them. So I'm telling you, from one collector to another, look at both sides of the coin, because you just never know what you might be tossing away. $40 for this one. That's a really respectable amount of money. The next one that we have here is one that we have seen on a few occasions. This is a 2007p Roosevelt dime with a quite a terminal cracked die, as you can see here on the obverse. As a matter of fact, they call it a bisecting die crack. That's when you have a die crack that goes from one edge to the other. It usually crosses, they call it coast to coast, where it goes all the way across the coin, much like this one. Now, this one is a very well-recognized bisecting die crack. You have all the little die chips and things like that. This thing is quite bonkers. So I'm telling you, if you guys have these, they've kind of slowed down a little bit due to lack of supply. But now we're beginning to see a few more head out there into the auction scene. Now, this particular one's not the prettiest example. It is a well-circulated piece, but it did manage to sell for $64.51. Much nicer condition examples I've seen go for maybe $100 to $200. pretty minty fresh types. Whereas the circulated ones, at one point you could get these for around $30-$40, but they've since creeped up due to just the general demand for the coins because of the semi-quincentennial redesign. And we also have a 1983p Jefferson nickel. All right, so this one right here, you can tell that the obverse looks a little bit off-center, but the reverse is pretty well-centered. So is this the same coin? It is, as a matter of fact. They call this misaligned dies error, and that obverse die just had a little bit extra play in it when it was striking up the coins, which when they're attached into the mid presses, they actually have to be tightened in there. So as again through just general wear and tear, as the coins are being produced at a rapid rate, screws get loose, dies get loose, things like that, and it'll produce little mint errors like this. So this is actually a pretty good price for misaligned dies. We haven't seen very strong prices for this particular mint error, as it kind of rivals off-center strikes. That not at a very good result either. This particular one sold for $25.75, and that is, ladies and gents, one of the higher prices I've seen of a misaligned dies error type coin. So we also talk on occasion, if it's applicable, some pretty rare silver bars and rounds and pours and ingots. Engelhard always seems to be front and center of some sort of crazy, stamping error. In this one, it's actually quite innocent and innocuous in that the serial number has been stamped upside down, and that's the big reason why that this one is on the list. I never quite thought about it, and I always, seem to favor and appreciate vintage bars and rounds. So now I'll know better in the future that if I did come across, like say an Engelhard or some sort of other old vintage, Madison Mint bar or whatever, and just really pay attention to those, because you never know what you're going to find. So you would figure, for a good old regular Engelhard 1 ounce vintage bar, they probably run $40 to $50 on their own, which is a quite considerable premium considering the $33 an ounce that we're seeing right now in today's market. And, this one right here with the upside down stamped serial number really changes things quite a bit. This particular one right here ended up selling to the tune of $235. Which is roughly about 8x melt value. It's like 7.5 to 8x melt value, which is crazy. And this one you can tell is vintage because it's got the pebble back, is what they call it. The pebble back design on this one is something that we saw back in the mid to late 70s, I believe, from Engelhard. So yeah, this one is a true blue vintage Engelhard bar. Always good to see, but boy, $235 for 1 ounce of silver, all because the serial number was stamped upside down. Hey, wow, bar collectors are as crazy and ravenous as coin collectors, as you can see. The next one that we have here, we got more dimes. We have a 1970, what looks to be a 1974D Roosevelt dime. Indent is what they call it. So there were two coins that were overlapping each other and then restruck, thereby showing this pretty cool indent anomaly on this one. So there is somewhere out in the world a second coin that fits this one like a lock and key. Where it is anybody's guess, even if it does exist. Maybe it doesn't. It's kind of hard to tell. But in any event, this one is sold for $64.28. Kind of a neat sale there. We don't see that kind of pricing activity level on, like, say, Lincoln cents of the same type of error. Usually they're about half that or less. So, again, showing the true positive power of Roosevelt dimes lately, this is another good one. We have a 1965 Lincoln Memorial cent. This one has a nice size curved clip on there. And guess what? It does have a Blakesley effect. You can see it right over the words "in" and "God" on the motto if you looked at the obverse. So this one here sold for $20.95 with 11 bids. And boy, I love me cherry picking some peace dollars and Morgan dollars. And I'm a big fan of VAM enthusiast. That's the attribution for die pairings and varieties on both of those coins. So you could always check out a website like vamworld.com. They'll give you some idea of what to look out for. This is one of them here. I've actually owned a few of these myself. It's the 1922 peace dollar with the mustache die break right on coming out of the nose and the mouth there. This one is unmistakable. That is a real deal, by the way. That is not a faked or counterfeit type of anomaly on there. This is the real deal. It's a well-known VAM variety. And while this one is not in the prettiest of shapes, it is a great collectible. All right, these things can get pretty pricey at much higher grade states. This particular one sold for $52.99. If you're lucky enough to buy this for around $31, at a coin shop, and they just don't know that they had this, you could do really well. I would say it's a coin that I would personally keep in my collection because of how cool it is. We also have this very mild broad strike, this time on 1998 P Jefferson nickel. Nice centered broad strike, which is simply just a malfunctioned collar issue. The collar is what keeps the coin in place during the strike process. So if that collar is not there, the metal flow will just go outwards even more and will actually create a much bigger diameter coin than what we're used to seeing. So this one here sold for $20.90. Not too shabby, but the bigger they are, the more dramatic and the more valuable they get. Boy, this one's cool, and I even forgot that this one even existed. It's a 1925D Lincoln wheat cent. Not a really great high grade example, but throw that all out the window, and when you look on the reverse, you see that large cud die break right on that right wheat stalk. That'll make you kind of like skip a breath. This is a really cool find right here. That ended up selling for $30.25 with 4 total bids. So more defective die breakage issues that people are capitalizing on to this day. And pretty neat wood grain coin here, 1920D Lincoln wheat cent, sold by Monkey Boo Coins. So if you have your logo on your images, I will shoot out a little plug for your eBay store to help out. But this is a really cool one here. They call it a proper alloy mix, and it's kind of like nickname is Woody or Wood Grainer. As you can tell, it looks like that. So this one here, nice tougher date. I don't, it sold for $19.99. I have a feeling that maybe Monkey Boo, sorry about that, didn't know like the true potential of value on this one because it is a much tougher date for wood graining, because they had it as a buy now for that $19.99. Yeah, one of the shockers here this week, 1988 Lincoln Memorial Cent. This one's off-center struck by about, I'd say 35-40%. It does have like, some carbon spotting and fingerprints, and, it's far from the prettiest. Is it necessarily the scarce estate? Probably not. But, I couldn't help but notice the sale price of $47.99 for this one, which is a little bit on the higher end for such a coin. All right, so our next coin here, we're going back vintage, more old school vintage stuff. 1890, Carson City Morgan dollar. My goodness. So not the perfect coin. Obviously, Carson Cities are very, very well collected in the community today. And again, we got to revisit another great VAM variety, a very well-known one. So, as far as like condition issues here, can't really say for certain if this coin was cleaned. It does have a very light appearance on the reverse, especially. It has a couple really nice sized rim dings on the reverse, right around like 8 o'clock on that rim. But most importantly, the reason why that this coin is on the list here today is because it is the tail bar variety. So you can see that that die gouge that connects the arrows to the top of the wreath there on the inside. That's not supposed to be there, and that's why it's been given the namesake tail bar. I forgot off the top of my head what the actual VAM attribution number is, but this is a like top 25 VAM in the series, and this particular one right here, a pretty good sale at $215.64 with 37 total bids. So showing again just on a coin that probably grades out, VG or fine with the tail bar, selling for a very strong amount of money. Because outside of that, if it didn't have the tail bar, it would be about a $90 to $100 coin. All right, which is still not bad, but yeah, considerably less, if not for the actual variety attribution on there. Next one that we have here, again, ugly does sell. It really does. I mean, this is far from the perfect. Mid-air, 1936, the Lincoln wheat cent. I mean, you can tell it's got corrosion and all sorts of a myriad of different other issues happening with this one. But the one thing that really redeems it is going to be that cut die break at the base of Lincoln's bust. So with that being said, this one did sell for $29.95. And if you find a collector that maybe is trying to find like one of every cud or doing a date set, that's really, really just all that will matter. Because outside of that, this coin right here, if there were no condition issues, it'd be about a $60, $70 coin. So they did get quite a bit of a discount because of the corrosion and things of that nature. Next one that we have here, more old Lincoln cents. Boy, this one's cool too. 1928D Lincoln wheat cent with a strikethrough right on the obverse there. So something was on the die. It could have been detached lamination. It could have been pieces of wood, metal shavings. It could be a few different things here. And it's nice and circulated. It does have a few deep gashes on the obverse there, which normally would be a distraction point. But outside of that, again, another ugly coin that, ended up selling for a $10 bill. Can't argue with that there. And, it's things like this we all need to kind of keep an eye out for, as they tend to go unnoticed. Again, people cast them off that aren't coin collectors. They cast them off as damaged, which is really unfortunate. But at the same token, on the positive end, it's like, more for us. We get to find these and then, put them in our collection or cash in on them. 2017 Effigy Mounds Quarter. I forgot that this one was even in existence. This one right here, a pretty controversial reverse design. It wasn't totally beloved by a lot of people. However, here we are 8 years later, and, we've kind of just made amends with it. It's like it's a coin that's out there in circulation. Who cares, right? But there is a couple really cool varieties, or not varieties, but mid-airs that you can find on this. Like this particular one has a couple of the pockets of Strikethrough, which could have been like grease or something on the die. Right there on, that bird mound at the bottom there, just right above it. A deep crater-like feature. When we look at these other ones, you'll see that none of the others have it. Now, the seller did sell 3 coins in this lot. The second one, bottom left, has a pretty nice sized die chip connecting that eagle mound to right where the word Iowa is on the edge of the rim there. So that's another nice little mid-air, and I don't think there's anything on that other coin other just being a regular type. So for the 3 coins you see here, the seller ended up capturing $74.99, which I'm telling you, that's really good money for these, considering that, it's a not as popular design and, it's quite modern and, $75 is, take it and run. Do not question any of that. That just happened. And, these are definitely cool. What we're seeing here, the seller had just put up on their I guess listing title that's a two color Lincoln cent, but it's much more than that. This is actually a die cap. This was a coin that was stuck to the face of the reverse die. Yeah, kind of wild. We've seen a lot of coins that were struck through a die cap. This one is the actual die cap. It has held up pretty well over the years, I would say, and you can see how flat that obverse is there. Normally, where you would see Lincoln's design, this thing is flat, and I'm gonna guess that's probably pretty thin as well. So the die cap here sold for $96.84, 20 total bids. So a lot of activity even for this. These are quite popular. Nobody wants to spend maybe two to 500 for a graded example, so they'll try and find a raw one and spend less than $100 for it. And someone did take advantage of that, as you can see. Another one that came up on the radar with just great results is this 1964 Lincoln Memorial cent that struck off center by around 35-40%, much like the other one we saw. Kind of a shocker here at $60.08 with 24 bids. This is a date that I have personally seen before. And there you go. Another great sale of this off-center strike. There were a few of these Wilma Mankillers. These have made a return as of this video because we had a couple of them sell here. This is the tremendous obverse cut and reverse cut, I guess. When you have the dual pairing of this, they are the most desirable. And I remember when a time that these things were selling for about $1,000 a piece at release. And they've been kind of like all over the place, but for the most part, they've been trending downward. How about this one for a steal? $199 in a buy it now scenario. The seller really did not know the market for these. I mean, generally the double-sided cut die break versions of this coin typically command $400 to $500 today. This one was just a verifiable steal because this one right here, a completely different one with just the obverse die break, and the reverse, as you can see, looks okay. It just has a little bit of a strike through with some like residual grease and all that. This is the lesser valuable piece, but compared to the previous example we just looked at, this one sold for $275. And I think it's mostly due in part with the fact that this one is in a little bit better condition, like, mid-state wise. So, someone ended up getting a really great deal on one and then paid regular price for the other. And I have a feeling it was probably the same person, just so they could have like one of each. But there you go. The Wilma Mankiller. These things, by the way, were dropped in the panhandle of Florida and southern Alabama, like Mobile area is where you could find these. Even probably to this day, there's probably still circulating in that area. Not as readily available as as it was 3 years ago, but you could your best bet is going to be in that area. All right, we also have this 1965, the first year of the transition from silver to copper nickel clad. This one right here is struck off center by about 55-60%, and it's going to be a necessity in most date sets. And this one here sold for $103.40, 12 bids, pretty cool. Put the coin down. Don't hold it in your hand and take a photo. Or either that or just palm it, put it in the palm of your hand and take a picture. But me personally, I would say just, put it on a table, on a piece of paper, and you're going to have a little bit better control of, the kind of photo you want. Another cut die break, 1983 Jefferson nickel. You can see it right plain as day on the obverse there, right at the crown of Jefferson's head. This is actually a very well-known one. This one is, I'm going to say, a rather common to uncommon level cut die break. I've seen a lot of these. But still, a very equitable piece. This one ended up selling for $38.98. So almost $40 bill on that one there. Here's a 1960 large date Lincoln Memorial cent that was struck on a split planchet. I love talking about these. So if you do come across one of these and it's like thinner and you have like a rougher texture on one side and a not so well struck reverse or vice versa, that's probably what you have. So this example sold for $54.10, another great sale. And the final item for the PCMR midweek edition is this 1900 Indian head cent, off center by what, 15%? Pretty cool. Very, very nice condition piece too. Probably like an XF 45, if I had to guess. It does have 4 diamonds. So, it's encroaching on about uncirculated territory, but I'm going to stick to my guns and say that this one is definitely extremely fine. So any off-center broad strikes of the earlier obsolete coins, type coins like Indian head cents, Buffalo nickels, Mercury dimes, and all those great things, they are quite hot and desired, very desired today. This particular one sold for $289, and that's pretty good because it's a much later date. The earlier date, like 1880s, 1870s, off-center strikes are where it's at. Those are the ones that command a ton more money. So with that being said, folks and friends, that's going to go ahead and wrap things up for this edition of the Pocket Change Market Report. Again, the info in this video is for educational use only. Don't take it as financial advice. Please collect and or grade your coins responsibly. And I am your host, Sean, with Blue Ridge Silverhound. Thank you guys again for tuning in, and I hope you had a great time with just kind of examining and what's being found out there in the wild today. I hope to see you guys soon. Happy hunting. I hope you guys find what you're looking for. And keep on collecting, my friends. This has been fun. I'll see you next time.